to study for my residential home builder's license. I am trying to make it to 100K in gross profit, and it'll make sales easier if I have my residential builder's license. I can pull permits, I can do bigger jobs, I can be more reputable. So those are some of the reasons I'm doing it. This is actually like maybe I've been studying an hour every day for like the last 2.5 months or more. But I'm basically gonna read out of this book, teach you what I'm learning. It's just something I've been trying recently to see if I can learn more effectively by teaching exactly what I'm reading. So that's what I'm gonna do. Last session, I got stuck on this. I'm going over the loads, the different loads that buildings have. And based off the loads, that's how you determine how much lumber you need for floors, for roofs, that sort of thing. And so we have dead load, live load, snow load, and wind load. When I left off last study session, I was on snow load. And so this is the weight of the snow on the roof. What I didn't get is I was reading this and I really just did not understand it. So I'm going to read it again, and I'm not going to move on until I understand this because snow loads are pretty important. And I understand what dead load, live load is. I know I have an idea of what snow load is, but I'm not understanding what I'm reading, so I'll just read it out. Snow load. Snow load is the greater of the following. Minimum roof live load. So even that sentence right there, I don't know what roof live load means. Like I hear that, I think that means the roof load when there's people working on it. But I have ChatGPT here, and I'm gonna use it to kind of help me dive deeper on the items that I don't understand. That way I can understand the material more fully. Roof live load refers to the weight of temporary loads that a roof structure must be designed to support. These loads are not permanent and can vary depending on the use of the building, weather conditions, and other factors. Honestly, that's enough information for me to be happy. So snow load is the greater of the following. So this is the design criteria, I think. This segment is kind of telling me, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know why this is so confusing. This segment is telling me what the design loads are for the roof. Maybe. I think so. Minimum roof live load, including the effects of snow and roof construction/repair activities found in the table on the right. Fishing with CJ. Hey, how was your day been? My day has been good. Networking. Just like making stuff happen. Went out with a girl. Kind of interesting experience there. Talked with my buddy Nick, who's an entrepreneur. He's got a pest control business. Now I'm studying for my builder's license. Tyler Barron. Hi, what's up? How you doing? Minimum roof live load. Design snow load, 0.8 times the 50-year ground snow load. Ground snow load. Expected to accumulate on the ground in a given area. Geographic area. Weird. So roof snow load is 0.8 times the 50-year average ground snow load. In Michigan, the 50-year average is 50 pounds per square foot. So 0.8 times 50. I maybe should be able to do this in my head, but 0.8 times 50 would be 40. So in Michigan, the roof snow load has to be 40 pounds per square foot, or the greater of, so if this next number is greater, you use this next number, the minimum roof live load, including the effects of snow, roof construction, and repair activities found on the table on the right. So, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So it is either 0.8 times the average snowfall in Michigan. And in this case, that brings us to 40 PSF, or it is the minimum roof live load, including the effects of snow and roof construction repair activities. So, or it's the number from this table that you can't see, but this table has first floor, second floor, and habitable attics, balcony, fire escapes, and stairs, garages. Minimum roof live loads. Okay, I see. So in Michigan, the minimum design snow load is 40 based off this stuff. Boston 40% broad. Have any plans for the summer? Not anything different than what I'm doing now. Just hustle, learn sales, sell my service, make money, go to the top, get less poor. I'm hoping to move into a place of my own as far as renting, but okay. Well, I'm gonna move on from the snow loads. I was able to read it and understand what it was saying. I still don't exactly know what the purpose of it. But design values for structural lumber below are the 4 types of stress in wood structures. The following pages list the maximum allowable stresses, design values, for rafters, joists, and planks. 4 types of stress in woods. Okay, so there's basically 4 different strength ratings of wood is what I'm gathering from this. And this is telling us the different design values for each structural, for each item, which is interesting. I would suspect that something like a structural engineer would deal a lot more with these exact values, and they probably go in detail. It's probably what their job is, but I don't know for sure. So we have fiber stress in bending. This is basically okay, yeah. We basically have a board like this. Board going across like this. You push down in the middle. It's going to bend that middle down. And what it's actually going to do is compress the bottom side or no, not compress, stretch the bottom side. And as it bends down, it's going to compress the top side. So if I do this right here and put force, pushing down here and holding it rigid at the end, I'm stretching the bottom side and compressing the top side. Okay. So I think I understand that one just based off the diagram, but I'm going to read it. Loads at right angles to structural members cause the members to bend, resulting in tension in the fibers on the outside of the bend. Fiber FB is an abbreviation for fiber bending, I believe. Fiber bending is one of the 2 common criteria used to size joists, rafters, and planks. Single member fiber bending values are used when load is carried by 1 or 2 members. Repetitive member fiber bending values may be used when at least 3 members share the load. Spacing is 24 inches or less, and members are connected by load distributing elements. So I'm guessing that's like floor sheathing. This is hard. Like, I'm reading stuff and I'm sort of understanding, but I'm also like sort of not. Single member fiber bending values are used when a load is carried by 1 or 2 members. So the load would be the pressure point. So if we had 2 boards put together, just like this, and ran across, this would be considered a single member fiber value. I don't know, you would think single member would mean like one of these. I don't know. That's weird. Repetitive member fiber bending values. Ah, you know what this is? This is when you have a floor. Repetitive members when you have like a floor with a bunch of, so in this case, we only have two, but like if I had 6, 7, 8 spaced 24 inches or less, that's what they're saying here. Okay. And they're connected by load distributing elements. So if this all had sheathing, that's what they're talking about. That makes sense. Okay. So there's two different values for fiber stress. Okay, this is going to go on for a little bit, which is fine. Modulus of elasticity E. The modulus of elasticity predicts how much a beam will deflect under a bending load. It is the second common joist criterion. Never even heard of that. Determining the bounciness of the floor. Okay, I think that makes sense. That's just like the modulus elasticity is how much this will bend. So right now, if you watch, that is a bend. And so the more elasticity, the more this is going to bend up and down as when somebody jumps. So the stronger this is, the less it will bend down. Okay. Yeah, they have a diagram here as well. Horizontal shear. Horizontal shear tends to slide wood fibers over each other horizontally. Short beams carrying heavy loads should be checked for shear. So this based off of the photo. I'm not understanding this either. What is horizontal shear in building materials? Horizontal shear in building materials refers to the internal stress that occurs when different layers or sections of a material slide past each other due to applied forces. It is a crucial factor. When beams bend under load, the top part experiences compression, the bottom part experiences tension. That's what we talked about with this other stat. FB. What's FB? FB. FC. 1, 2, 3, 4. FCF. Horizontal shear. Yeah, this has got to be used in like mechanical engineering or whatever. You know, I think I'm gonna move on from that. I'm trying to keep the ball rolling with my studying because a lot of this is deeper knowledge than I need to have as a handyman, and I don't think a lot of it's necessarily going to be applicable. Now, it might be helpful to kind of have an idea of what a structural engineer does, but there's a specific job for that, and I'm not going to take on that. Who is walking behind you? Do you have a roommate? That's actually my grandma that you probably saw back there. So don't be too concerned. Studs, compression parallel to the grain. Studs, posts, and columns are compressed parallel to the grain of the wood. Loads on wall studs are usually very low, but posts and columns are carrying heavy loads should be checked. But posts and columns that are carrying heavy loads should be checked. So this is basically that's saying the wall studs in here are really not carrying that much load typically, but a post or column would be much more likely to carry a lot of load, which makes sense because you can most of the time you can cut into one stud and it's perfectly fine. Blue-nosed ghost, are you not in Michigan anymore? I don't know. I don't know why you ask. Yeah, I'm still in Michigan. I mean, I'm not homeless, but I'm studying a lot. I studying's trying to make this a more enjoyable experience. That's kind of why I'm on a stream. And I think I actually am liking the learning process of hopping on and like teaching it as if somebody's right here, which, probably boring content, but I'm labeling the streams as for based off of what I'm streaming. So strategy meetings is like, hey, let's strategize, let's figure out how to make more money. Probably more interesting than study session. Stress value adjustment factors. The design value tables, which begin on the next page, assume normal load duration, full load for 10 years, moisture content between 15 and 19%, and the presence of the most severe checks, splits, and shakes allowed for the grade of lumber. For differing conditions, the design values should be changed by the multiplier factors on this page. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, dude, by the way, just kidding about the grandma. I'm assuming the other guy was trolling, so I just trolled back. My grandma's not here. My roommate's not here either. I do have a roommate, but there's nobody here. People drill holes for electrical through studs and take away like half inch or a third of which would affect the amount of load. Yeah, it's I believe it's up to code to cut into. It depends. I think it's 1/3 of a structural stud. I would need to double check that, but there's specific code that tells you how much you can go through. For a non-structural stud, you can go through 40%, I believe. So that is, I mean, it's a good point, but yeah. So it sounds like posts are typically taking the most weight, but I don't know, in a normal house, you don't really have posts. You have a bunch of studs that carry everything. So I'm not exactly sure what it meant by that, but I'm gonna move on from that. So just on this next paragraph is stress value adjustment factors. This is basically telling me, man, it's complicated. This is fairly complicated stuff, which I actually like how deep it gets. I want to get into the nitty-gritty, but like for something that's really applicable to my business, like the really nitty-gritty, like all the physics of my business, whereas this isn't exactly applicable. But anyway, so this is measuring the stress resistance of lumber in different stressed positions. So we have bending, we have horizontal shear, which I think is like horizontal shear would be, we have this pen, we have this pen, this corner right here would be at horizontal shear because this thing wants to shear. Then we have modulus of elasticity. This would be flooring that deflects downward. We have compression, like on a post. And then the stress value adjustment factors. These are different factors that will naturally affect the strength of the wood. So we have the age, the moisture content, the presence of severe checks, splits, and shakes. Those are all lumber defects that they went over previously. So if the wood has defects, and all these factors will affect the strength. And so these specific numbers are assuming that the moisture content is between 15 and 19%, and that the presence of the most severe checks, splits, and shakes allowed for the grade of lumber. So certain grades of lumber only allow for certain levels of defects. That makes sense. complicated, but it makes sense. Are you reading the state building code book? I used to read the 2006 Florida one. Um, Honestly, I should figure that out. They, I think I mean, it's the International Residential Building Code. I guess what does international mean? Two or more. Huh. Two or more countries would be international, which is what I thought. Um, IRA. International Residential Code. That's weird because I would think is it international residential code? How is it international if international is between two different countries? That doesn't make any sense to me. I must be confused. Modulus is another way they use the percent sign in math. That's engineering type stuff. Most builders don't go that deep with the math and physics behind code reasons. Yeah, they don't, but I also don't think it hurts to I don't think I need to retain that, but I don't think it hurts to have kind of an idea of exactly like what I mentioned, like what you're saying is engineering. I don't think it hurts to necessarily have just a rough idea of what that actually means. Even if I don't go there myself, it's still, as somebody who's the top player at the business, it's good to have an idea of all the pieces that are shifting around. So that makes sense. Now there's a bunch of tables. Um, Duration of the load. Interesting. Yeah. I'm as much as I'm preaching on the value, I also don't know. Like, I know for a fact if I spent a ton of time, I could really well understand everything that's happening here. But at the same time, is it worth me spending 4 hours to go through 6 pages? Probably not. So what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna try to read these tables. I kind of have an idea of all the different things they were talking about as far as different stresses that can be on wood, and then different like adjustment factors. So I'm just going to keep moving on. This is span tables for S4S lumber. I don't know what that means. S4S lumber. Oh, surfaced S4S. Surfaced four side lumber. So it's cut on four sides. Florida has different stuff because of the hurricanes and things. Other states have stuff in their code for things Florida never sees, like snow loads and freezing ground, etc. Yeah, which, logically it makes total sense because Florida, you're going to have to account for floods. And then there's seismic design categories. So, like, how big of an issue is earthquakes and shaking? And do you need to build that into your structure? Because when you really think about it, literally all a house does is puts a roof over your head and provides a place to live, and it does it really effectively. Just like it does the exact same thing as a mud hut, but it's more complicated and better designed to live in to keep us alive in different geographic regions. So Antarctica is going to have a different building code. I actually don't even know if they have a building code. It'd be kind of funny. I should. Well, it's a little off topic, but I'm gonna look that up because some things are built in Antarctica. Does Antarctica have a does not have a building code because it is not governed by a single country. However, construction in Antarctica follows strict guidelines due to the harsh environment, international treaties, and sustainability requirements. Okay, interesting. So, not a specific building code, but they do have to follow some guidelines. So S4S lumber is lumber that is surfaced on four sides. The following pages are span tables for joists and rafters, all assuming uniform load bearing over a single span. So there's no breaking up. This is a single span. And this is probably also going to tell us the different types of lumber opposed to like laminated beams or just typical wood, whatever. So let's go through this. Use the tables as follows. Number one, determine the total uniform load, the sum of the dead load and live load. Number two, find the design stress values for your species and grade of framing lumber you plan to use. Yeah, this has got to be like engineering type stuff. I don't know why this is even in the... I can't imagine most builders are going this deep. So they want us to take the stress values from the previous tables that I didn't learn how to read. They want us to take that and apply it in this section. Multiply the design stress value by any applicable stress adjustment factors. Okay, so then you take the stress value of your lumber and then the stress adjustment factors. Find the appropriate span table, the size of framing lumber required. So it's like, how far are you spanning? What type of lumber are you using? What stress factors do you have? And then you can pick the size of framing lumber you need. You also need to pick the spacing of the lumber as well. If you are designing floor joists, consult the deflection table below to see whether the floor will be stiff enough. If the deflection is too great, increase the size of joists. So yeah, if your deflection is too great, you need to get thicker joists so it doesn't bend as much. So you might have a small joist like there, bends like that when you step on it. Bad. Thicken up the joist. Oh, that's not what you bend. I think that makes sense. Example. What size number one hem fir joists are required for a first floor with a clear span of 14 feet, 3 inches, on-center spacing of 16 inches, and a structural subfloor? To be conservative, allow 10 pounds per square foot for the weight of the floor, dead load. The code specifies a live load of 40 pounds per square foot, so the total load is 50 pounds per square foot. Now, repetitive member, FB, repetitive member fiber stress. I don't know if that's actually what FB stands for, but repetitive member, okay. 1400 psi. Is that how it's measured? Yeah, okay. So fiber stress is being measured in, okay, 1400 psi, and E, modulus of elasticity, table on page 118. You can see that 2x10 joists will span 17 feet 4 inches. 1.5, those 2x10s can span more than 15 feet 8 inches with a deflection ratio of less than 1 divided by 360. Okay, so this is basically just a way to figure out exactly how thick your floor trusses have to be. That's all, or anything that's spanning a space. So I talked to a lady at a networking event today, and she was telling me about an addition somebody built on her A-frame house, and there's a long span, and she has sliding doors on the span. So we got A-frame, we got a span running across like that, sliding doors next to each other. And what's happening is, for some reason, whatever is being used to span there is deflecting downwards. So it probably was not, you probably didn't have an engineer build this. It was just some Joe that didn't really look at the numbers. And so after a few years, it started to sag, which is causing these sliding doors to not open properly. Wait, I just looked it up and got modulo and modulus confused for each other. Mod, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Modulus, because there's no j, but modulus is the distance from zero. Modulo is the percent sign thing. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. ChatGPT could probably help me find it out. What is modulus? It says it mean okay, it can mean different things in different contexts, which I think is always makes sense. Ah, you know what? You're right. In mathematics, what you're saying makes sense. In engineering and material science, it means the deflection of the floor, at least. Maybe not. In structural mechanics, huh? Yeah. So, which is interesting. So I was thinking to myself, this is a little bit off topic, but I'll get back to this in a second. It would be cool to learn every word in English language. Like think about how much you would learn. And then I was like, wait a second. I could learn one word, and in different industries, it has completely different meanings. And in this situation, modulus. I want to see how that's said. Because anyway, completely different meanings. I think it's modulus.
Modulus.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Anyway, completely different industries, two completely different meanings. So even if you tried to learn all the words, you would also need to learn all their definitions for the different industries. And then as soon as you learn them, in a year or two, a lot of them will change. So impossible. I'm not going to try it. I will try to learn concepts that help me build my business though. And that's why I'm studying this book. I might not learn every definition, but I can learn the actual science behind building things. So that makes sense. There's a bunch of tables here that tell me what size of lumber I can use for what, the different stress values, and that sort of thing. Span tables for rough lumber. On the following pages are span tables for rough sawn, joists, and rafters. Assuming uniform load over a single span, use the table as follows. Use tables as follows. So I'm going to say rough lumber is the differentiator between S4S lumber and rough lumber. Rough lumber versus S4S lumber. Key differences. Rough lumber has not been cut, planed, or smoothed. No. It's lumber that has been cut, but not planed or smoothed. So it's just rough cut. Wow, dude, who could have guessed based off the name? Lumber that has been planed and smoothed on all four sides. So S4S lumber is lumber that, like the 2x4 in my wall would be S4S. I'm going to look at some rough lumber examples to kind of see what it would look like opposed to S4S. Yeah, so it's just way more rough looking, basically. Makes a lot of sense based off the name. Cool. Can move on from that. So use the tables as follows. Determine the sum of the dead and live loads. Estimate the design stress values for the species and quality of lumber you plan to use. Multiply the design stress values by any applicable stress adjustment factors. Find in the appropriate rough sawn the size of frame. Consult the deflection table. So again, just saying, figure out what type of wood you're using, figure out the adjustment values for the stress values that you have, and then use it to find the width, how big of the lumber you need to span what you are trying to do. So longer span, obviously you're going to need larger, but how much larger? And that's what all this science is here, just to tell you how much larger you need to go. Because most people can figure out, okay, if you go further, you're going to have to go larger. But this tells you exactly how much larger based on many different factors. based on stress factors, stress adjustment factors, spacing, lumber like species. I don't know if there's any laminated stuff in here, but okay, cool. I think that makes sense. Ah, here we go. Spans for prefabricated wood eye joists. And I think this is going to be pretty much the same idea. The truss joist, the Truss Joist Corporation's TJI/25 joist is a representative of a new generation of framing members available in 9.5 and 11 and 7/8 inch depths. Residential TGI 25 joists consist of plywood web pressure fitted between laminated veneer lumber flanges. Okay, so we got, if you're familiar with OSB, pretty sure it's just like same idea. OSB sandwiched by LVL, laminated veneer lumber. Boom, boom, boom. Here's I can show that right there's prefabricated wood eye joist. So longer spans up to 60 feet, which eliminate lapping over girders or wall lines. Yeah, so if you want it to span, well, that's cool, good to know, up to 60 feet in one go, you're gonna need this prefabricated wood eye joists. Greater strength per weight, so stronger per cubic inch, or no, per pound of material. Reduced warping, shrinkage, twisting, and splitting. Good. Convenient pre-punched web knockouts for utilities, so they can run electrical, whatever they might want to, electrical, probably potable water, because they could, all sorts of things in there. And then it gives us a table, same idea as previously. We're looking at different applications, how far it's going, and then, no, and then that's all, yeah. Moving on, span table for stressed skin panels. So I read about this the other day. I don't even know what a stressed skin panel is. I'm like, what? One-sided plywood stressed skin panels have plywood skins glued to the tops of longitudinal framing members. The skin and framing act as single unit carrying loads. When designed with both top plywood and bottom gypsum drywall, skins and filled with insulation, the stressed skin panel offers insulation and a ready to finish sealing. Numerous companies offer variations on the theme. Wall panels filled with rigid foam insulation, and panels substituting OSB for the structural skin. Consult manufacturers for specifications. I'm gonna have to figure out what this stressed skin panel is. I'm gonna watch a video. Core and 2 bonded outer skin layers. I think that's like normal framing, isn't it? Or am I confused? Ooh, this is it's only 8 seconds though. That wasn't helpful.
It's not having access to 1 million industrial grade products is so amazing.
I don't know if I might be able to get copyright strike for watching stuff. I don't know how that works. Do you see yourself living in Michigan long term? Probably not. Stress skin roof panel. I'm not sure about this stretched paneling. I don't know what that means. No, I'm gonna be here till I make 100K, and then maybe I'll move back to Montana. I don't know. I don't know what I'll be up to then. There's could be interesting opportunities, meeting new people. I might find a business owner that I want to apprentice under in a different state. Who knows what? Who knows what will happen? Very up for whatever I kind of feel like doing. Explain what a stressed skin panel is. Stressed skin panel, SPP, structural panel system where the outer skin's faces and inner core work together to support the loads. This creates a lightweight yet strong panel, commonly used in construction, aerospace, and transportation. Outer skins. James, what's up? Hey, brother. How's it going? It's James, by the way. Yeah. It's going good. Going good. How's school? It's gonna be what? School's gotten out in a pretty soon here, isn't it? Um, I'm trying to think of what you were up to when I left. Uh, Koozies. I know that was a thing. Yeah, it's almost over. Dude, you're gonna be graduating. Woo woo! What college did you get in? I pretty sure you were going to college. Some cool one, I think, too. Um, Key components of a stressed skin panel, outer skins, face sheets, inner material. Gonzaga University. Not gonna lie, I don't know what that means. I'm gonna look it up. Are you still doing? I assume you were doing like BPA. Anything cool with that? Because I know I feel like well, we were working together when I left. Um, Pretty amazing too. Like, let's go homeless. I can only imagine what you thought. I think you were like, "What the heck did you just say, bro?" I was like, "Yeah, going homeless." I don't regret it, dude. I'm done. Like, I did the thing. I don't regret it. Gonzaga University is a private Jesuit university in Spokane, Washington. Oh, cool. Spokane, Washington. It's accredited. Nice, dude. Well, I just so like have fun in college. I'm gonna have fun being homeless. Well, not homeless now, but like you get the point. I have been hosting these streams where I just like study for an hour. I'm actually done now. But the point is so I can basically teach whoever's watching at what I'm learning in this book. And I think that's going to be a really effective way for both me to learn and also think like if I'm teaching some sort of apprentice in the future, I've already taught the information once, so I can teach it again. So I don't know, it seems helpful, but I'm gonna wrap up the stream here. See you guys.